Hey guys, John here, and welcome back to the Mini Brute V tutorial course. The focus of today's video will be about the left-hand side of the synth here, such as the pitch wheel, the modulation wheel, and all these other buttons down here. So first up, we have the pitch bend wheel. Now, by default, this bend range is going to be set to 2 semitones. So that means if we hold down a note and go upwards, we're going to be bending that note by 2 semitones. Or if we bring it down, we're going to be detuning it by 2 semitones. So something kind of like this here. However, we can go all the way up to 12 semitones or 1 octave. And right below the bend range knob, we have another knob called glide. Now, this is going to allow our notes to glide into each other. So for example, without this, they're pretty steppy, that we can bring this up here. And our notes are going to glide. We can do something pretty extreme like this here. Now keep in mind that on this synthesizer, this glide parameter will always glide regardless if we play legato or not. So if we play a note here, and then we let go, and then we play another note, it's always going to glide. So next up, we have the modulation wheel, and this has 3 different destinations. We have the cutoff, the vibrato, and the LFO amount, as well as an amount knob right down here. So let's first take a look at the cutoff. So on this toggle switch, let's go from vibrato to a cutoff here. Now, essentially what's happening is that this modulation wheel is basically going to control our filter cutoff. So what we can do is we can bring this down something kind of like this, and then we can play a note. We're going to have a dull note, maybe bring this up a little bit here. Now, if we increase our mod wheel, it's going to start opening up the filter. Now, the amount knob is determining how much of that filter are we going to open up via this mod wheel. So for example, if we bring this all the way up to its maximum, this mod wheel, and now we can dial in how far do we really want this to go. Maybe somewhere around here is the maximum value. So now, this way we can set up our modulation wheel in a very specific range for our cutoff. So next up, we have vibrato. Now, this is going to be set up by default on a new preset. So for example, let's hit a note and increase the mod wheel. So we have our vibrato set up right over here. Now, this can be cool, this can be nice, but however, let's say we want to make this a little bit more crazy. What we can do is we can bring our mod wheel all the way to the top and increase our amount while we play a note. So let's say we want to write about here. So this is going to be basically this is going to be what it sounds like at its max value. So now let's say we want to increase the speed or slow it down. That is done over here in the vibrato section. So here on this rate knob, let's bring this up here. So we have 1 hertz on the very left-hand side, and then it goes all the way up to 50. Now, generally for vibrato, anywhere between 4 to 6 hertz is pretty nice. And we can also change the waveform here as well. We have a square, a sine wave, and an inverted square as well. So next up, we have the LFO amount. Now, this one is very interesting. So once we toggle this downwards here, we're going to notice that this knob disappears, and that's because this amount is going to be determined within the LFO section over here. So essentially what's happening is that we have an LFO, and we're assigning this to different places and different depths here. So for example, we can have more pitch or more filter, more amp, regardless of what we want. And this modulation wheel is going to basically scale all those up and down for us. If it's all the way down, we're not going to have any effect. If it's all the way up, it's going to be at its maximum depth. So for example, we have this all the way down. Our mod wheel is down as well. Let's try this first on the amp. So let's bring our amp pretty substantially high and let's play a note. Here we don't hear any modulation, and that's because this wheel is all the way down. But as soon as we bring it up here, then we can see the influence that LFO has on the amp here. Now, for example, we can do this on the pitch as well. Let's do something kind of extreme like this as well. We can do this with the pulse width and the metalizer, but for that, again, we're going to have to bring in these here. So let's bring in our square wave and our triangle wave, and then maybe change these up just a little bit like that and do something kind of crazy here. And the cool part about doing this here is that we have all these depths set, but here we can kind of go in between the minimum value, so 0, and the maximum value, which is going to be the position of these knobs, anywhere in between, which is a really cool way to set things up. All right, guys, well, there you have it. So hopefully now the pitch and modulation section over here makes a little bit more sense now. In the next video, we're going to tackle the arpeggiator, which is a lot of fun to do as well. So thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you learned something, and we'll see you in the next video.